we have some views from Glassmaker. Today we have Swapnil Walunj representing leading Indian glassmaker Borosil. Swapnil is presently working with Borosil Renewables as head marketing and is responsible for new product development and brand promotion. Swapnil has more than 14 years of experience in marketing and sales, business development, M&A strategy, and finance in power sector, as well as in capital goods industry in India. He has successfully completed large M&A deals in past in power sector. So Swapnil specialty is actually new product development and launch of new products. He has a electrical engineering educational background, and Swapnil also studied business with a master's degree. Swapnil, we are very excited to hear from glassmaker point of view. So floor is yours.
So thanks, Shravan. I hope you are able to hear me properly.
Yes, crystal clear.
Great, great. So thanks, Shravan, for introduction. So welcome everyone and greetings from Borosil. I hope you are all doing well, and most importantly, all your family members and colleagues are in good health amidst these tough times. So on behalf of Borosil Renewables, I would like to thank Taiyang News for inviting us for this as a part of this conference. I would also like to compliment all the other conference members of conference and presenters rather, who have made really insightful presentations. So I would like to take you through the critical role of solar glass in performance of solar modules, especially from the perspective of reliability of module design. So this is a basic agenda, but prior to that, I would like to start with, I'd like to set a context. See, today world has around 600 gigawatt of capacity, and this year we are projected to add at least 125 gigawatt more. So we would be at least 700 gigawatt plus by the end of this year, and surprisingly, 2/3 of this capacity has seen less than 5 years as a life. So what I mean to say is, although there are there is very little data that is available for a long-term life of solar module. Although there are many exciting technologies in terms of efficiency or even the sizes of the modules, but today there is very little data that is available that proves their long-term, long-term sustainability of those designs. So we need to be more responsible and carefully design the modules as well as the components so that they last long for the contract period, maybe 25 years or even beyond that. So with that, we have been working in this field for last 10 years. So I'll start with a small introduction of Borosil Group. Then I'll mention a few things about why it is important to select a high quality solar glass for your modules. Then what are the issues pertaining to the solar modules? Basically, those impact the performance, and then we'll go to the next level, like anti-reflective coatings, or there are new technologies like floating solar, and why do we need fully tempered glass and thinner glass, basically. And then we'll come to Borosil Renewables products. So just give me a moment. So I'll start with the Borosil Group. We, as the Borosil brand, many of you know this company, many of our Indian as well as the customers who are abroad. We are an Indian company, and we have a significant global reach. For over half a century, Borosil has been in the business of specialty solar glass. In fact, Borosil names actually it's synonymous to specialty glass in India, and we have, and how have we achieved it? Due to continuous innovation process, however big or small they may be, and over the period of time, we have emerged as a leading glass and glassware company in India. So it's the Borosil Group is spread across various segments, from consumer products to solar glass. As I was saying, we have been strongly present in the specialty glass area, but subsequently we have moved on to the other products like consumer products, and very recently we have acquired a pharmaceutical packaging company. So the last one where I belong to is a high performance solar glass. So if we see the group over the last let's say 7 to 8 years, we have consistently clocked a CAGR of 20%, and we have reached a group turnover of around 121 million USD. So again, this is primarily due to customer centricity that we have as a DNA, and the innovation, which I'll speak about later during the presentation. So when it comes to solar glass manufacturing, we have a state-of-the-art glass manufacturing facility here in India, spread over 100 acres. So from this perspective of capacity, we are close to 2.5 gigawatt per annum. And just to tell you, we are now in an expansion phase where we'll be expanding to 5 gigawatt by end of Q1 of calendar year 22. So we'll be 5 gigawatt company when it comes to solar glass for the modules shortly. So these are some of the photographs of our factory. We also have a R&D setup of 302 kilowatt on a rooftop, and we are expanding that setup with I mean, very shortly we'll be having one more R&D setup where we'll be testing many solar modules as well as glass technologies. Then I'll come to the main topic, solar glass and importance of selection of high quality glass in solar modules. So all of you know this, solar glass is one of the important components of solar module, which primarily protects solar photovoltaic cell against the damages like external factor like water, moisture and dust. But that's not the only thing. It also offers the low reflection, high transmittivity and a high strength to the module. So that's how solar glass is important, and why should we be careful while selecting the solar glass is this very popular graph that almost everybody refers to. So if you see the failures, they are categorized in three categories: infant, midlife and wear out failures. So typically infant failures happen very quickly, and those who are related to glass are glass breakages primarily. So if we go to midlife failures, the potential induced degradation is one of the major cause of failures. And of course, over the period of time, other issues, snail trails or degradation of anti-reflective coating, which cause the underperformance of solar module, which are directly related to solar glass. If we try to put it in a statistical perspective, there are two graphs. Again, I'm referring to the same study done by International Energy Agency. They analyzed the failures of 2 million modules basically. 10% of that, when it comes to infant failure, 10% of that are caused by glass breakages. And if you see all the encapsulants put together, where glass is also a part of it, glass, EV and backsheet, around 40 to 42% of the failures or underperformance, I would say, are attributable to the encapsulants. And this is over a longer period of time. So hence, if these are the issues and they are that important, then we should be very careful while selecting glass, EV or backsheet or all the encapsulants for that matter. So I'll move on to the next level of details. What are the kind of issues that are directly related to solar glass? I mean, of course, if we don't, so what happens if we are not careful while selecting the solar glass or design, if you are not careful while designing the solar modules? So immediate impact is due to cracks, basically micro cracks in solar cells. So they happen typically during the transportation or even the installation. And these cracks actually lead to basically snail trails, which are apparent in the picture, which is down below. And this may further lead to hotspots in case of these cracks are pretty severe. So there is a study done by NCPRE, which is IIT Bombay's, which is a part of IIT Bombay in 2018. They found that around 8.3% of the cells were having some crack, micro crack or major cracks. So that's why we need to be very careful. Basically, since the module design is basically driven also by glass, and the design is not done proper, then there is a risk of cracks or micro cracks, which will spoil ultimately the performance of the modules. Then there are of course snail trails, which is basically discoloration of panel. This happens typically over a period of, let's say, 2 years, and then power production starts impacting. There is also another issue of moisture ingress, which I'll come to the next slide, which happens through the backsheet, and basically then it starts impacting the EVA as well as the cells. Delamination, basically if it is glass to EVA bonding or cell to EVA, even that happens due to thermal or mechanical stresses. So these issues actually start impacting the performance of solar module, and they are directly related to the encapsulants, including glass as well as the backsheet. So there are certain solutions. The glass modules are considered to be more robust to cell cracking. So why they are considered more robust is primarily because of their ability to handle stresses in a better manner. So let's say if there are residual stresses, they happen primarily due to mismatch of the coefficient of thermal expansion and also mechanical coefficients. So glass, which is on the front side, and backsheet, which is on the behind the module, they have the different coefficients of thermal expansion. So especially during the module manufacturing or post curing process, these materials contract and expand differently. Basically, when they cure, they contract. So basically, backsheet contracts more than the glass. So this picture, you would see that since this backsheet contracts more than glass, the glass goes into the contraction and bending stress, and backsheet is in tensile strength. So these strengths, they are in these stresses, they are in totally opposite direction. So if you see here, it's in compression and stretching, whereas this is the backsheet is purely into tensile strength. So there are stresses that get developed. These stresses are perpendicular to the glass EVA bonding. So of course, the perpendicular stresses cause the peeling force to get generated, basically. So the high thermal stress in glass backsheet modules can cause the following issues. Basically, they are initiation of delamination from module edges, or delamination of both in glass EVA or cell EVA interfaces. So ultimately, the delamination as well as cell cracks might also take place. So these issues can be easily avoided if both the surfaces or both the encapsulants are glass, which have these thermal coefficients as well as mechanical coefficients exactly the same as compared to each other, and these delaminations won't happen. So has it been proven in the lab as well as field? Yes, definitely. So I have one example where the sequential tests were carried out, and what they did, they took monofacial as well as the glass bifacial modules. Monofacial is typical glass to backsheet, and after doing these sequential tests, the first being the thermal cycling sequence test, second being UV plus dynamic mechanical loading, and third being the more severe version of sequence 2. So what they have observed is the power loss is more in case of glass to backsheet module as compared to glass module. So all the top curves that you see, either bifacial glass modules in black or blue, they have a lesser degradation of power over the period of time. And even the thermal imaging show a clear picture that the bifacial glass modules are more robust. They are still largely after this sequence tests. So it also proves that glass modules perform better under sequence tests, firstly as compared to glass backsheet module. So they are expected to burst to weather these mechanical stresses and also the moisture or oxygen ingress. Hence, they are expected to perform better field. So next part is there are some concerns about the weight of the glass. So we have tried to plot the weight of the glass. If you take a typical monofacial 72 cell module, the weight today
Swapnil? You are on mute. Just unmute yourself.
Can I hear? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, maybe you can take down the video so that the bandwidth is good.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So could you make me host? I think I lost the connection and hence I'm not a host anymore.
Okay. Min? Min?
Yeah.
You got it?
Yeah, next slide, please. Yeah. So the weight of solar module was something that we were discussing. If you see this 3.2 mm front glass of a monofacial module, all things put together, the glass of the module is around 21 or nearly 22 kg. Now, if I use the bifacial module with 2.5 mm glass on both the sides, the weight increases to around 28 and a half kg, so which might be an issue. So there is a solution. Instead of 2.5 mm glass, if we use the fully tempered 2 mm glass on front and maybe heat strengthened glass, but of the thickness of 2 mm at the back, the module weight is now 23.6, which is almost, let's say, 9% higher as compared to the normal monofacial module. So this difference could be eliminated. So here the module typically is a module with the frame which is of course of the order of 2 kgs. So if we eliminate the frame altogether and use a proper edge sealant, then the weight of the monofacial module is, I mean, they are all at par. So the bifacial module with 2 mm thick glass on both the sides and a frameless module with a proper edge sealant, which will ultimately last long till the contract period or the module life, will have no issue of the weight. So otherwise, if we keep adding the 2.5 mm glass, there will be a lot of weight that will be added. Hence, the companies like ourselves, Borosil Renewable, have been very active in this area since the beginning, and we already have this 2 mm fully tempered glass, which is far superior as compared to 2 mm heat strengthened glass. So the another issue is the durability of anti-reflective coating. If you could go to next slide, yeah. So as today anti-reflective coated modules or anti-reflective coated glass is a norm today. Almost everybody wants anti-reflective coated glass. There is a need to have anti-reflective coating which is not only durable but which has a high, I mean, which is not only giving you the higher gain, but also the durability should be long enough. Today, we have received the feedback from many developers that the modules that have been supplied to them, the anti-reflective coating have waned much prior to, I'll not even say it the contract period, but much prior to their expectations. And handful of months, to be honest. So why we are very much concerned about the anti-reflective coating. Also, although we are not a supplier of anti-reflective coating, but since it gets coated at the time of the manufacturing of the glass, we are extremely sensitive about this issue so that our customers don't face any issues. So we use globally renowned anti-reflective technologies that they give typically 1.7 to 2.3% higher transmission. But we are much more concerned about the durability of this test. So what we do is the laboratory tests are carried out by us first in the lab, and we also ask these coating suppliers to submit all the standard tests that will prove the durability of those coatings. We also do field trials of the modules coated with modules with glass, coated glass rather. And we have invested in the world-class AR coating lines that ensure the uniform coating thickness. and that's how I think that's the only way to ensure the durability of the coating and without compromising the transmission. So that's how we take care of this coating issue. There are some coatings which might discuss later. There is an emergence of anti-soiling coatings that we are seeing now, which will be I think which we feel that there'll be norm very shortly. And again, market needs to be very careful while adopting this anti-soiling coatings. So, next slide, please. Yeah. So another interesting technology that I wanted to talk about is the floating solar projects, because we have been of late hearing a lot about floating solar projects, which have their own issues, and hence the module design needs to be much different as compared to the standard solar modules. So, next slide, please. Yeah. So, what is so typical about the floating solar projects? Of course, they are exposed to very high humidity, higher radiation as compared to higher UV radiation as compared to the ground-based installation, and in some cases, the mechanical forces act pretty severe and constantly due to waves wherever they're applicable. But even issues of waves is there for these floating solar projects. So what the design requirements that I talked about, the difference is the modules need to be wave and corrosion resistant. The durability is pretty much important while designing those modules. The lightweight of the system is also important, and optimum cost of structure, so which is also an important point when it comes to the viability of the projects. So there is this salt spray test, which is one of the toughest tests. So there are many modules initially do not succeed in this salt spray test. So if it is not sustaining at the lab scale, imagine a situation where there is, if they are floating on the somewhere near to sea, so that then there'll be an issue. For 25 years, we are sure that they won't be able to last long if they are not able to sustain this salt spray test. So this typically salt spray test usually has got 5% of NaCl, and the saline water will have much more than 5% of NaCl. So in order to have these modules to last long till the contract period or PPA period, the module needs to be different. I mean, the standard module with frame and backsheet will not be able to perform till the PPA period. And if you go to the next slide, I'll be able to throw more light. Yeah. So these are various snapshots. The ones that you see at the top are today the modules being put on the for these floating solar modules. But if we could tweak the designs, and there are some developers who are already started doing this, if the floats are designed in a different manner, and if we put the glass modules, then there are certain advantages. The design of the modules as well as the floats, they ensure that minimum transfer of forces are applied on the module. Basically, cost of the module structure is also very low. And most important aspect is these modules are glass modules are diffusion tight with a proper edge sealing to it, and they are mounted at a particular height, at least 1.5 meters. So they are not exposed to seawater directly. So these are the inherent benefits or advantages these glass modules have. So if you go to next slide, I'll just tell you what are the quantitative impacts. Yeah. So as I suggested that glass modules. A typical glass module is 700 times more water vapor diffusion tight as compared to the normal module. And with the right combination of encapsulation foil and edge sealing, the glass module with typically 2 mm in fully tempered solar glass performs very good, excellent and much better as compared to the normal module under the extreme environmental conditions. So these edge sealing ensures that the module lasts long even beyond 30 years. There is a high reliability, so less module failures, and also considering the overall design, the low cost of ownership due to lower the BOS as well as the other costs. When it comes to why we say the durability, it also has got to do with the degradation. So there are some tests that were done, and if you use 2 mm glass module with a proper edge sealing as well as the lamination foil, the degradation is the minimum. So we feel that with glass modules, we will be able to have the modules which will be able to last long, considering the high humidity and tropical environmental conditions. The seawater, basically the modules that are floating on seawater, and also they are exposed to high UV radiations. So glass modules is the best solution for the floating solar projects in our opinion. Next slide, please. Yeah. So if, we'll talk about the fully tempered solar glass. So, if you could shift to the next slide, please. Yeah. So world is now, the solar industry is now moving towards the thinner glass with emergence of bifacial models. So these are the graphs that I have taken from International Technology Roadmap, which is a very popular regular, I'd say that people believe on. The bifacial modules have started emerging, and within next 5 to 6 years, there'll be more than 50% of the solar industry. With bifacial modules, there are two separate things happening. I mean, some bifacial modules, as we have been discussing in the previous presentations, some modules will have a transparent backsheet, and there are some modules will have a glass as a backsheet to be simple. So the top right graph tells you that even glass modules are going to grow in future. That's not the limit. I mean, the bottom left graph tells you that emergence of bifacial and glass modules will also see frameless modules having increased share in future. So with all these three things coming together or happening simultaneously, the module weight will be a concern, and hence even the thinner glass will have its prominence. So the thinner glass is shown, the emergence of thinner glass is shown on the graph, which is at the bottom. The percentage of thinner glass, which is typically less than 3 mm, is also becoming prominent over the next few years. So we are certain that the thinner glass is going to be a main fora very shortly, and we are also seeing it in the market. There are many customers who have obtained the certifications from the local regulators on this thinner glass, especially 2.5 mm thin glass, even in India. So we are clear that market is moving to thinner glass, and all the glass manufacturers will have to be prepared to supply the thinner glass. Next slide, please, Neil. Yeah. So as I was talking about the 2 mm fully tempered thinner glass, see, Borosil has been the first the solar glass manufacturer to supply this thinner glass to module manufacturer, making it fully tempered as compared to the heat strengthened glass that has been supplied to the market. So what are the unique features of this thinner glass, including 2 mm? Is the higher transmission, slightly higher transmission, I would say, because of the lesser material, enhanced mechanical strength, and long-term durability, basically due to lower EID. And they are more suitable to, as we have been seeing during the past slides, that bifacial and glass frameless modules, they'll be more suitable to floating solar applications, and the building integrated PV, which has been dominated by the thicker glass of 4 mm and beyond. So the graph tells you that the thinner glass with 2.8 mm thinner glass, the module weight reduces by 15%. With 2.5, it reduces by 20%, and with 2 mm thinner glass, the module weight reduces by 35%. So that's how the module weight could also be optimized using the thinner glass, which also will bring down the requirement of the structural design. So the cost the project cost could also be optimized that way. So it has got a positive cost on LCOE as long as it meets the basic safety requirements of the project. Next slide, please. And as I was suggesting, there are many customers who have started adopting 2.8 and 2.5 thin glass. I'll come to the last part of this presentation. Uh, uh, I'll talk something about Borosil Renewables Limited now. Our product portfolio, as you know, we have been catering to several market segments: utility scale ground mounted solar PV, greenhouses, the solar rooftops, and even solar thermal. One typical thing that I would like to tell you about our innovation: we are the first company to develop a solar glass, and so far we are the only company who have developed the solar glass which doesn't have antimony at all. Antimony is a toxic element, and I'll explain you later in the later part of the presentation why we have removed the antimony. There are other recent innovations. We have developed a glass called Selene. It is an anti-glare solar glass for the modules which are to be installed near airport in order to ensure the aviation safety, so that there is no glare and the pilots don't get impacted because of the glare while landing or taking off. So this is a new, this new product that we have recently launched. We have also launched a product which is matte in finish, plain on the both sides, which has slightly higher efficiency. We are, as I have said, that we are working with reputed coating suppliers for anti-reflective coatings, and now we have also working on anti-soiling coatings. There are some coatings that have been launched which have anti-reflective and anti-soiling nature in the same coating rather. There are thicknesses, as we have been seeing during the last few slides, that we have been supplying to solar PV as well as solar thermal markets for all the thicknesses: 4 mm, 3.2, 2.8, 2.5, now 2 mm. Basically, they are all fully tempered solar glass as compared to the heat strengthened solar glass that has been supplied by our nearest competitors. And we supply the glass in a number of sizes and the smaller area modules also. So, if you could go to next slide. Yeah. So this is the antimony free solar glass. Antimony is a toxic element. The maximum content of antimony in the water is 6 parts per billion by WHO, which is much lesser as compared to the other toxic element like arsenic, which has got 10 parts per billion. So it is so severe. And today, due to lack of sustainable recycling processes, today the modules which are actually ending life or the faulty modules, they are now being dumped into the soil. What is happening is, once they are dumped into the soil and glass gets crushed, the antimony from the solar glass leaches out very easily. It is as easy as the sugar that comes out of candy. I'm being pretty simple. It's that simple. And these antimony that leaches out of the solar glass will ultimately get into the groundwater and will definitely cause havoc to the local environment. So we have been pretty much aware of this issue, and we want our solar modules to be really green, and would want our future generations to be secured from the issue of antimony. And we have developed a glass which we have called Nosbera, and we have done field trials of this glass on our R&D rooftop facility, where we have found a reasonably good better generation as compared to the glass with antimony. So we are doing several trials of this glass with a few reputed institutions in India as well as abroad, and we are sure that with this product we'll be really able to have the solar modules and solar glass which are really eco-friendly and truly green. So next slide, please. Yeah. So low carbon footprint is another big USP that we have. Our low carbon footprint or the carbon footprint audit was done by a reputed French company called Solstice. What they have observed is we are able to save 22% in comparison with the default score of the glass manufacturing industry. It is one of the best values achieved for the glass manufacturing industry. Just in terms of number, with the advanced technology and the better process that we use, we have been able to deliver or melt the glass. If I tell you the per kg consumption of the energy, the number is 1121 as compared to the nearest competitors, where they are very close to this number. They must be around 1700 to 1800 kilocalories per kg. So this also helps us to be competitive in today's market scenario, where the lowest cost of electricity is the main criteria for solar power. So with these innovations and the better processes, we have been able to achieve the low carbon footprint, and with this we have been qualifying to several tenders, primarily in the Europe. So we have this as a USP. I mean, next slide, where there are other USPs. I'll quickly, since the time is very limited, I'll quickly take you through other USPs. We regularly check the glass transmission. We compare them with the next best competitor in the Indian market and abroad. We have been observing that the transmission of our glass, and we are talking about the bare glass, the transmission is higher as compared to the other glass across the solar spectrum, not only the PV, the spectrum that is relevant to PV. So we also have, we are competitive in the solar thermal segment also. Since we supply the fully tempered solar glass, there is an enhanced mechanical strength that our product has got. This fully tempered solar glass is not only mechanically strong, but it also is safer. It breaks in a different manner as compared to normal heat strengthened glass. So our product is not only better, but it is also stronger and the safer aspect of it. There is one more unique aspect that we have, and it has been tested in the laboratories, renowned laboratories, that our glass leads to lower potential induced degradation, because the sodium content of Borosil glass is much lower as compared to the others, and hence it is it leads to a higher lower potential degradation, and the chemical durability is also higher. So Min, if you could go to next slide. Yeah, so this is what I was talking about. There is already comparison available done by a reputed European institute, where they have carried out the PID test, and our glass has been found superior as compared to the other well-known competitors. Can you go to next slide, please? Yeah. How do we ensure the quality? Of course, these are the routine tests, the ball drop test that the standard specifies, or the fragmentation test, or the 4-point bending test. So these are the routine tests that we have. We are also pretty much aware of the damages that happen to glass during the transportation, and the packing material that we use, and the way we pack the glass is also very high quality. It meets the requirement of the customers and exceed them. So next slide, Min. Yeah. So these are some of the credentials and certificates. I wouldn't spend much of a time, but some of them are the hailstone impact resistance test, which is so the on the previous slide we have seen the 4-point bending test, which deals with the static load, but this hailstorm impact test in accordance with IEC 61215, we have done the test on the bare glass, where the glass has sustained the requirements. So we do it on the modules regularly, but we have also done it on this bare glass. So even our glass has, being a fully tempered glass, it has even passed that test. So I mean, other basic standards are and certifications are in place, and we exceed the customer requirements as far as the next slide, please. Yeah. So as far as the SPF certification, which could be considered as a norm, because SPF themselves are considered as a gold standard in solar testing. We are, so across the thicknesses 2 mm, 2.5 or 2.8, we are the P1 or the class 1 supplier, and that is true for the next. Next slide, please. The 3.2 as well as the 4 mm glass. So everywhere we are a class 1 or P1 supplier. So next, we have a global presence. So although primarily we are supplying to Indian market, but 15 to 18% of our sale happens to the European market, as well as geographies like Middle East and North America. So we are working now on these two geographies, primarily Middle East and North America, as well as the Americas, primarily North Africa, these regions, so that we'll be able to have a larger global footprint in future. Next slide, please. Yeah. So as a summary, some of the competitive advantages that we have are anti-money free glass, better transmission, better longevity, better durability, and the high efficiency as that we have been seeing in the previous slide. So next slide, please. Yeah. The next part of the competitive edge is the larger modules. So since the world is now moving to larger modules, we have a special capability to handle the larger glass, 25 mm by the width of 1500 mm. Basically, as compared to 2 meters by 1 meter glass, we could also fully temper the solar glass as well as coat it for this configuration also. These modules are typically 500 plus watt modules, so we are geared to supply to this segment also. And we have been working with anti-reflective coating as well as anti-soiling. So anti-soiling is becoming a very important aspect for the solar modules in future. And we have ready products with our associates who we have been working with since several years. So I think that's all from our side. Min, thank you very much. Over to you for any questions. So Shravan, over to you.
Okay, thank you very much. It was really very nice presentation. Actually, it's not so easy to see a presentation from glassmakers. So of course, you know, there are also very interesting questions. So first of all, let me thank you for this very detailed presentation. And so first, you know, I have questions from the participants. So, so what is the recommendation to test AR coating loss in the field? There is a question from the participant.
Yeah. So honestly, there, although there are certain methods, but to be very honest, Shravan, as far as the field testing is concerned, there are very few or rather no reliable tests which could only tell, or I mean, if at all the anti-reflective coating is waned, there are very few tests which could be reliably tell that what is exactly the impact on anti-reflective coatings over the period of time. Of course, there are certain obvious issues like change of color of modules, or which actually ultimately tell very clearly that anti-reflective coating has waned over the period of time, and there are visible tests. But if you want to find out an exact impact, to what extent the AR coating has been impacted, we haven't come across any reliable test which will be able to quantify the impact. But as far as anti-reflective coating is concerned, the visibly we'll be able to make out whether it has been impacted.
Okay. Okay. So then, you know, how to address the rare side PID with glass bifacial modules?
Pardon?
You know, how to address the rare side PID with the glass module? You know, the PID potential induced degradation is little high with the glass. So, you know, of course, there are solutions all along the value chain. So, as a glass supplier, do you also work in this direction? Probably this is what he means.
Yeah. So one of the obvious answer to this is to have the frameless modules. Of course, having glass on the both sides and with frame, you will be exposed to certain potential induced degradation. But the obvious answer to this question is the frameless modules with edge sealant could be a solution to this problem for a sustainable period of time. Of course, selecting a glass which has got lower sodium content is another solution to this. But the most helpful solution would be to have the module which is frameless, especially that is in case of glass module, which is possible to achieve.
All right. Okay. But since you just also said about frameless, and in your presentation, you were also recommending frameless as kind of a solution to as a counteractive solution for reducing the weight also. But what is your experience when you were talking to module makers? So are you able to convince them? Because if you see the bifacial, initially a lot of companies thought it's the best way to go frameless, because you have tremendous saving, because frames also weigh pretty much heavy in the module BOM cost. So then getting rid of the frame probably very favored solution from the module makers. So this has also happened in the initial days of the development of the bifacial, but later on industry more or less unanimously turned to framed. So what's your experience when you were proposing this idea of frameless to the module makers?
Yeah. So yeah, that issue is very much correct. So people are now again. I mean, at least that's has been our experience that people are on the frame modules with the frames, and but again, I mean, again when we move to bifacial modules in a large way,
Okay.
there is a thought process, and there are some module manufacturers who tell us that when we move to bifacial in a big way, the frameless modules will come back ultimately because of the larger issue of weight of the modules, because at least frameless modules will have a lesser weight to the extent of 2 kgs, and PID might be so if we combine these two issues, weight as well as the PID, we might move to the frameless modules. And I mean, most of the but still most of the people today, those who are making monofacial, as you said, that they are still stuck on the modules with the frame.
Okay, so since you said, I think frames are also indirectly kind of influence the glass thickness. So, for example, if you want to really go to the thinner glasses, probably framed frames are again required. So, so in your opinion, having a thinner glass and framed, and are a slightly thicker glass unframed, which one is better?
Of course, a thinner glass and frame as compared to thicker glass.
Okay, so when you were talking about 2mm module, 2mm glass, so are they compatible with the frame? Are they compatible to be frameless? Let's say in 72 cell module configuration.
Yeah, there are some module manufacturers who we supply to have been using R2mm glass with frame, and there are no issues that have been reported to us. So is there any particular aspect that you want to highlight here, which is behind this question?
No, nothing. So because
Okay.
I've been getting questions from people. So okay, there is frame, and then there is frameless, and I always see, because when I'm contacting people, they always pose these questions to me. So just I'm putting that to you.
Yeah. So just to answer your question, we have been supplying the 2mm fully tempered solar glass to the module manufacturers who are using it along with the frame.
Okay.
So it has its own market that way. And this PID issue, Shravan, once perhaps today we are in P type, when we move in a larger way to N type, this PID issue may not be there. So
sure,
all these issues over the period of time will get resolved either this way or the other.
Okay.
And I think industry is finding its own solution, trying all sort of permutations and combinations to have the higher efficiency.
Okay. So then there is also a question from one participant. So what is coming after 2mm glass, and what sort of module modifications would be needed to handle the change and still pass the mechanical loading and hail?
Yeah. So to answer your question, we as a part of my presentation, I have shared one information that our glass, not only the normal glass, but also the 2 glass actually has passed the hailstone test and all the other mechanical strengths, including the 4-point bending tests. That so we have the glass. So the unique thing that needs to be done, in my opinion, and that's how we have been designing our product. The glass needs to be fully tempered. The glass manufacturer should be able to supply the fully tempered glass to the modules in order to ensure the higher mechanical strength. I think so. That's the measure that one needs to take if I have to answer this question.
Okay, so with the advent of the larger module, so larger wafers, then we have a larger module. So I think glass is one particular stream of material supply that got affected. So what are the challenges as a glass manufacturer you are facing? I mean, how is the situation for a glass manufacturers with this changing module sizes because of the wafer sizes?
Yeah. So there are two aspects of this challenge, rather, Shravan. One comes from the ability of glass manufacturer to temper and coat the sizes of this order. So today, 72 cells, if we speak, the standard size is 2 meters by 1 meter. But for a module which is upwards of 500, and today we have been seeing the modules of 600 watts and beyond, there where the sizes go much beyond 2300 in length, or even in some cases they are more on width, I mean 1400 on width. So ability of the glass manufacturer to temper these sizes is a challenge that they have been facing. Fortunately, we have foreseen this issue well in advance, and we have ordered the equipment. We have procured the equipment accordingly. So today we are able to handle, let's say 2500 by even 1500, which could be much beyond 600 watt. So that is the most important aspect. The second aspect is it's rather the practical aspect that people face on the ground is the weight of the module. So today people are using 2.5 glass on both the sides, front as well as behind. So why not to shift to 2 fully tempered glass, which will also ultimately reduce or optimize the module weight, and will ultimately solve this problem of weight and other issues, ultimately cell related issues that will come in future. So there are solutions that are available. It is a matter of planning well in advance, which Borosil Renewables has done, fortunately, and we have been tempering the thinner glass for last more than 4 years now.
Okay. There are a couple of other questions, but I think I don't want to miss this particular one. So I think it's also very important. So what difference a fully tempered glass makes in a glass module compared to the heat strengthened glass?
Yeah. So as we have seen in the presentation, the fully tempered solar glass is much better when it comes to the mechanical strength. It's not only mechanically strong, but it is also safe. I mean, the breakage pattern that you would have seen. So as far as the durability of the module is concerned, and this is one of the most critical aspects. If we want to have the modules that last for the committed life or useful life, or even the PPA life, we need to have the encapsulants all, including glass, which will last that long. And hence we have thought of the fully tempered glass as a solution. So I mean, as you spoke some time ago, that few years ago there have been people who have been advocating the glass modules. One of the most important aspect was the fully tempered glass that glass manufacturers are able to supply, but ability to supply the thinner glass, the availability of equipment, the skills available with the glass manufacturer to fully temper the thinner glass has been limited, which is where we have a competitive edge. And hence we are saying that when it comes to glass modules, fully tempered thinner glass is very important, at least on the front side of the solar module. So that's where it scores much higher as compared to the heat strengthened glass. Shravan.
Okay. So, this is one question from my side. So, right now we are seeing 2 from the bifacial, it was at 3.2 mm, 2.8 mm, then 2.5, then 2.2 and 2. So, where is the limit for the glass thickness? So, from a glass manufacturer's perspective, so does it has any further potential to go down?
Yeah, I mean, it is, to be honest, now it is anybody's guess at this point in time where the module manufacturers have just started adopting, let's say, 2.5 mm and 2 mm glass. But we feel that first, for a foreseeable future, the market will stabilize at the existing thinner glasses, and only then it will move on to the lower thicknesses. So even the graph that I have shown, IT RPV graph,
Yeah.
Even for next 10 years at least, it will take, I mean, the less than 2 mm glass will take a lot more time than those 2029 and beyond. So I think let these 2.5 and 2 mm glass get stabilized in the market, let them perform first, and then only I think the thinner glass will take shape. Of course, solar market, as we have been seeing, is has been throwing a lot of surprises, innovations. So it would be really exciting to see if there is any innovation that would come for the glass which is lower than 2 mm, and we are glad, we would be glad to adopt if it comes from the market. But today, for the conventional wisdom, we feel that 2 mm will be the next thing. At least it will take some time to stabilize, and then only some new product might come.
Okay. Okay. I think, just let me check if there is, because we got 1 more minute so that we can just continue into the next session. Yeah, just I'm checking. Probably there are a lot of. So, do you have still energy to answer?
Yeah, as much as you can.
Okay. So, there is one question. So, what are the challenges you see with semi-tampered glass in bifacial modules? It's not fully tampered for the perspective of mechanical strength. So, I think you already probably answered it.
That we have
partly.
answered.
Yeah. So, and then I think one question. So, this is probably related to your product. So, what is the largest glass size you are manufacturing? I mean, you are able to supply as of now for solar applications.
See, I mean, as far as the length is concerned, we can go I mean, there have been other products. We have been catering to other segments in past where we have been supplying the glass which was more than 3 meters. But as far as the width is concerned, we could go as 1500 or even 1700. But there are certain restrictions for coating. So, I mean, we can safely say that we would be able to supply 1500 width for coating as well as the tempering. So that's there.
Okay. So thank you very much, Swapnil, for your wonderful insight regarding the glass. And please stay with us. We have some more interesting presentations that are coming up.
Sure. Shravan, so thank you very much, entire Tayang News team, for inviting us and I mean, giving us this opportunity to not only have our views on the module design, but also what we to introduce ourselves with the larger diaspora on this or our products and innovation. So thanks a lot to you, and thanks everyone for joining this and listening to us patiently, and for all your questions. We request you to stay safe and take care. Thanks a lot. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Same to you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.